Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this episode is an incredible script that Police Scotland have written for the police officers, for anybody who complains about Humza Yousaf under the hate crime when they call about his speech, his famous white speech back in 2020. Now, it appears that due to the amount of and the level of complaints about that specific incident, the police issued what they term a form of words for call centre workers and officers to recite in response to complaints about his hate speech in the 2020. He was the Justice Secretary at the time, and he said 99% of his meetings he attends, he's the only white person there. Then he went on to give us a whole list of top jobs, and the word white after Justice Minister white. Well, he never added that one in, did he? But you get the gist of it. And the guide that they were issued with by the high agents in the police force stated that Mr. Yousaf had been making reference to his own personal experiences of racism, and that nothing said in the speech was threatening, abusive, or insulting. Well, I tend to disagree with that because I found it pretty abusive and very insulting that a man would get up and give a list of white people that were in powerful jobs in a country that's 90 odd percent white. Now, unless we're going to have reverse racism, then you're going to expect in a country where almost 100% of the people are white, that any role that you wish to look at will have majority of people doing that job or type of job being white. And I found it very insulting as a white person. Now, there's an intriguing part of this story. And the police said it adds that when he had been referring to white people, he'd been pointing out a matter of fact. Now, you don't need to be telling lies when you could be criminalised due to the Hate Crime Act. The fact that he was pointing out matters of fact is neither here nor there. Was it insulting and was it abusive? Now, another intriguing thing, where's the bit? The police said that at the time, pre-hate crime, the police had already looked into this. Earlier complaints, that would be earlier than the 1st of April, regarding this matter were assessed at the time, and it was established that no crime was committed and no further action was required. So what they're basically saying there is, white people aren't protected previous to hate crime, and they certainly aren't protected by the hate crime. So even if his words were hateful and insulting, probably couldn't get charged anyway, because there is absolutely no protection under previous and still existing laws, nor with the new law that came out. But I would love to be able to test this, but I shan't, because I think I know the outcome, and I don't fancy going to jail. Don't fancy even getting arrested and going to court, something I've never experienced in my life, going to court in a criminal manner. So, however, if you stood up and made a similar quotation, and I'm only using it for an example if anybody from Police Scotland is listening to this video. But if you were to stand up, for example, and say, First Minister of Scotland, Brown. Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Brown. First Minister of Wales, Brown, and so forth. And you would, I would, prepared to put a large wager on it, you would be arrested for being hateful. And it bothers me. I don't think it is a bad idea protecting people from hate. But it shouldn't be exclusive to minorities. We should have laws that are for everybody, including women, by the way. They're not protected by these laws either. But it should be inclusive to every person. You don't need to pigeonhole the only people you think need protected from hate. Because I am not, well, I could possibly be listed in the aged bracket, which I don't know where the cut-off is for that, but it's about the only protected group in the hate crime law that I might get protection for. I'm a man, I'm white, I'm a Christian. I suppose if somebody was anti-Christian to me, I could possibly, good luck with that as well though, come up with a complaint that the police might take on board if somebody, because religion is protected, it's just not been tested if that's all religions or just minority religions. But it just, there's so many aspects of society right now where I just scratch my head, and that's probably why it's worn out. But, and again, before I say this, minorities should have protections when it doesn't affect everybody else's life. But we should all have protections. Being a minority shouldn't give you the majority of protections. Being a human being should. Regardless of whether your gender, religion, ethnicity, colour, anything comes into it. Just being a human being should give you protections, regardless of your other things. The only times you have issues is when you have safety issues, and that's highlighted a lot by the trans argument, whereby a lot of feminists feel that their rights in sport and in use of bathrooms, safe spaces, etc., are being harmed because laws now tend to look after the minorities. And if we have to draw a line at anything, regardless of what it is, by the way, but safety in bathrooms is topical. And if we have to draw a line somewhere, and a very, very small, under 1%, probably under half of 1% of the population are affected because they wish to use women's bathrooms, then unfortunately that's the way things go. But not in society, in Western society just now. We just see many occasions where the wish of the minority has a detrimental effect to the majority. And I like to apply common sense and logic. Now, if you take the bathrooms, for example, and you say, right, if we only allowed biological, not chosen sex, but biological, gender, keep getting mixed up, or is that sex, gender? I can't remember. I'm so confused. I'm over 50 now. The world's becoming alien to me. But if there was a question on one topic of should bathrooms be able to be used by people who are not scientifically designated as women, and anybody could just decide to use women's bathrooms, then approximately 50% of the population would be affected by that in a negative form. If you said, no, biological women only can use the female toilet, then less than half of 1% would be affected negatively. The type of brain that I've got and the way that I consider facts, etc., I just don't see where the argument is there. That doesn't mean I'm transphobic. That doesn't mean I'm anti-whatever. Probably makes me unwoke. I'm quite happy to accept that label. I have no problem whatsoever of being called unwoke. But that makes sense to me. Regardless of your own opinion, why would you verge? You can only make one decision on this out of two possible options. That is, do we let anybody use a women's toilet or not? We only let women use women's toilets. But you understand what I'm saying? To go one way would affect 50% of the population. To go the other way would affect less than half of 1% of the population. It's a no-brainer. But time and time again, we see legislation and laws passed that give more rights to minority at the expense of the majority. Now, if you can write laws in to look after minorities, to make them feel happier, make them feel safer, make them feel whatever their feelings are needing rectified this week, and it affects nobody else, then great. I care, I'm not that bothered. If, I don't really, any type of minority, I have a great life. I don't really get that upset about it. But when we pander to the vast minority at the expense of, well, at least 50% in the case of women, then there's no sense in that. There is absolutely zero logic to that. And you can apply that to a very large number of things in society today, and the hate crime law is one of these. We didn't have laws previously that let you hate people and generate hatred and bile. There was already protections there. But no, what we'll do now is we'll bring out laws, and if you look at each individual protected group, then minorities. And again, I'm going to reiterate, I don't say minorities don't matter. Of course they do. They're human beings, for God's sake. However, why not just write a hate bill without, and make everybody a protected group? Anyway, my rant over. I think I've overrun my time. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. That's really important to me, by the way. Thumbs ups are great things for analytics and YouTube. If you've not already done so, please consider subscribing and join in the comments below. They're always good. But, as I say all in all my videos, unless you're Humza Yousaf, people that think a hate crime bill's needed, an SNP cult member, or Nicola Sturgeon. Everybody else, have a great day. Cheery bye now.